hope that was interesting and straightforward, but I would love to talk about it further. So we have a microphone in the center and a microphone way over there. And if you want to go up and ask some questions, I'm here to answer them. And we have some other Googlers who are experts in this area here and available to answer as well. Daniel up here might be popping up and saying hello. Yes?
So if we've got a new kind of entity that we wish Google would make into a rich snippet.
Yes.
We happen to be a real estate site. We would like, 3 beds, 4 baths to appear in the rich snippet. My understanding, we need to build an industry consortium to make a standard around the microformat. Is that step 1?
Well, there's 2 things. One is being able to identify the data, and yes, you've indicated that, right? Like having microformats or microdata able to specify that is great. And microformats and RDFA are really good for this because they're already pretty general. The other thing is convincing Google that that would be like good for the users. And so the best step there is to go to the Webmaster Forum and make it known. This is a rich snippet that we think would be really valuable to the users, and we're ready to mark this up. Or we've already marked our pages up with this. Do you add anything to that? We can share a mic.
I've never talked to your chest before.
I'm sure they can bring up a mic in a sec, but I'll hand this over to you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think that's a great direction that we want to pursue in the future. One of the great things about both RDFA and microdata is that you don't have to form an industry consortium. You can mark up the data that you already have on your page in a form that makes sense to you. That starts the conversation, right? That starts the conversation when you post a link in a Webmaster Forum. That starts a conversation with other webmasters about what data is interesting to other sites. It starts a conversation with Google about what you're able to mark up. So I would say that that's the beginning, and thanks a lot. Over time we'll have better answers to this question. It's a critical part of the world to mark up more entities.
I bet that one you have to hold closer. Hello. Hello. Shall we step up
Well,
here?
I'm certainly open to the idea that what you just described is, you should just mark up your site and then post on the forums. Maybe someone will notice. I'm not sure someone's going to notice. A random post on the Webmasters forums?
Really? No.
I read the forums.
All of them? They get a little noisy sometimes.
Seriously, there are a lot of people at Google who do read the forums. But yes, I think you've really highlighted an issue that this is a person-to-person negotiation right now, right? That part is not scalable. That's why Timothy's talk on scalable structured markup didn't include that topic. So yes, it's socialization. It is developing a groundswell of support. But we recognize that that's not ideal. So we look forward to coming up with better answers to that over time. It's a serious problem that we recognize.
That is an industry consortium. I need to build an industry consortium of people who agree.
Industry consortium. It's a wiki page you go to, and the process that says.
Okay, I'll post on a forum and I'll post on a wiki. Maybe someone will notice.
Clearly, we all feel passionately about this. We don't all have microphones.
All right.
So please come up afterwards and chat.
Yeah.
Would love to have a longer conversation with you about how to make that work better.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, please do.
Seriously, read the microformat solve process page. That tells you how to do this in a way that will help people agree with you.
All right, let's go over here for the next question.
Yeah. A common response that I see on my test page, or the testing tool that you have, is we couldn't find the subject of your page. So I've included maybe too much structured markup, and I wasn't able to tell you the exact subject of the page. Say it's a profile page for a person, and I really want this to be the highlighted noun, and I included too many of Spinal Tap's upcoming concerts in the sidebar and videos or whatever else. So what do you recommend for highlighting, it could be an area role or something, the subject of the noun that you really care about for that page?
That's a very good question. I don't have an immediate answer to you.
That markup ideally, in a large scalable site, right, you have records in your database, as Timothy described. You have records in your database that describe, that back each part of the page. Focus on, what, that page is about. Focus on the record, that backs it. This markup is really specialized right now to pages that have, that are single item pages. It's possible to do more, but honestly, Google isn't so good at that right today.
That's a really good point. When you mark up your pages, do you open up the Webmaster Help Center article for that rich snippet type and try and hit that, or do you just add the data?
Yeah, and I go to your datavocabulary.org and read the exact spec to what I should be putting on there.
So datavocabulary.org is great, but if your goal is rich snippets, at least in my personal experience editing and adding the structured markup, the Webmaster Help Center pages will give you an example of like, this is a snippet that like could give a rich snippet on search engine results pages. Does that make sense? Right, whereas data vocabulary is the spec and it's like everything you can do. The webmaster page will say, this is something that, this is a good example of a page that would get a rich snippet.
It sounds like you have a particular problem that we're not serving very well. So
I think I'm too expressive, and you're asking me to just dumb it down for you. And so I'm wondering how.
That's hard.
And so I'm wondering how do you change over time? I've heard like, oh, they notice when something comes up in the testing tool that didn't quite work out. Kind of like the forums question. Do you tend to see that happened? So if I list Spinal Tap and I say bands like Spinal Tap, and each of those has a little person markup within them, but the main object is Spinal Tap, and there's so many different things you can do where it's all valid markup, it's all very descriptive, but it might take away from you finding the exact subject of the page.
So to Daniel's point, yeah, it sounds like that there is a conversation to be had here, and there's some changes that we could make to better address your use case. So if you wouldn't mind, let's come up afterwards and we'll talk about it in more depth.